This podcast is sponsored by the Fireman Moving Company. The Fireman Moving Company is the official moving company of WKU Athletics. Not only can they be trusted to move all the coaches in and out of Western, but they can move you anywhere nationwide. The Fireman Moving Company is owned and operated by firemen and is founded by WKU alumni. If you're looking to move sometime soon, give them a call at 270-791-1755 and get yourself a free quote. Welcome to Topper Talk, your number one Western Kentucky athletics podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Moffitt, and I'm joined by co-host Tyler Bailey. Hilltopper Nation, whether it's happening on the hill or on the road, grab those red towels, stand up and cheer, because it's up next on Topper Talk. All right, welcome back, and thank you for downloading and listening to another episode of the Topper Talk podcast. We are your number one source for WKU sports news and information. We are the only year-round WKU podcast, and we are the only WKU podcast that covers every single sport and every single athlete at WKU. We are also a proud member of the College Huddle podcast community. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms. I always suggest Instagram, and especially X or Twitter, whatever you're calling it these days. That's going to be where you're getting the most recent and most up-to-date news as far as when it comes across the timeline. We try to share it out so that everyone can be aware of anything WKU relevant. And then make sure you head over to our YouTube channel. We do have video episodes that drop with every audio episode. So head over to @Topper Talk Podcast. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell, get notified every time we drop an episode. And as always, I've got Tyler here with me, man. We've got a basketball recap episode to jump into, man. You ready to get into it?
Yeah, man. It's hard to believe the non-con season's already over. About to jump into conference play. So let's do a little recap.
But before we get into the basketball recap, we have to get caught up with our Red Towel wrap up, which catches us up with all the news and information we've missed since we last recorded. So Tyler, hit us with that Red Towel wrap up.
All right, so starting off, Tegan Moore, he was named to the Lou Henson Award early season watch list.
Yeah, so that watch list is for the best player at a mid-major program. So that's definitely a nice award to be recognized for. Some people don't like the mid-major label, but it kind of is what it is. G5, G6 in football, mid-major in basketball. It's just an honor for Tegan Moore to be recognized. Coming back off an injury, a serious one where he missed all of last season. It's nice that his efforts are being recognized this early in the season. So big congrats to Tegan.
Now we're going to talk about the volleyball team. They got a commitment from Aubrey Sears. She's a 6'1" outside hitter transfer from the University of Houston. She's originally from Russellville and played at Logan County High School.
Yeah, so she'll have 3 years of eligibility left. She just spent 1 year at Houston. But like we always say about Travis Hudson, man, he does not rebuild. He just reloads. And, to go find a local girl who originally committed to Houston out of high school, and she decided she wanted to come back, play closer to home, obviously. So welcome her with open arms. A 6'1" outside hitter. That's good size to have on the roster. Right now our two main outside hitters are both, I think 5'9" and 5'10". So that's a welcome addition. Add her to the rotation, and I'm sure she'll help us win some matches in the near future.
WKU football's punter Cole Maynard, he was recognized as WKU's first ever consensus All-American during our FBS era.
Yeah, so the first consensus All-American since 2009 when we transferred to FBS. We've had 6 total now, but all the rest of them were prior to 2009, obviously. And I think the last one, if I'm not mistaken, was Buster Ashley in 2004. So just a really cool recognition for Cole Maynard. That just means of the 5 major All-American voting groups that he was named to first or second team in a majority of them, which he had 2 first teams and a second team. So that made him a consensus All-American. Big congrats to him. Had a good season. Kind of was always that consistent and steady hand, led the nation in punting, special teams player of the year. Now has one game left with the bowl game coming up, and hopefully he'll get a shot at the NFL. So definitely well earned and well deserved recognition for Cole Maynard.
Staying here with the football team, WKU offensive lineman Lawrence Seymour was named a second team All American by the Football Writers Association of America.
Yeah, another just really cool one. One that maybe I didn't expect as much. He did get recognized several times during the season for being the Conference USA Offensive Lineman of the Week. But sometimes with those guys, they don't really have a lot of stats. It's really all about how they grade out. And, sometimes those grades aren't exactly public. You're not seeing those week by week. So pretty awesome that he got recognized as a second team All American. Um, just awesome to have two different All Americans for football. And then, we just talked about Callie Bauer being an honorable mention All American at our last episode. So just a lot of good stuff, a lot of good student athletes being highlighted right now for their on the field or on the court accomplishments.
I know Western had a heartbreaker last night, but the Lady Toppers basketball, they dropped one to Chattanooga, 58-59.
Yeah, if we thought the men's team game was a heartbreaker, the Lady Toppers was almost just as bad. They were winning by two in the closing seconds of the game. Chattanooga made a shot and got fouled, and then went to the free throw line and hit a free throw with essentially no time on the clock to win that game. So, just a bad day all around yesterday for Hilltopper basketball, both men's and women's. But, we are at a non con for both of those programs now. So, hopefully, we can set our sights on Conference USA play and, right the ship and get back on with our winning ways.
And now we're going to talk about some pro tops. Broderick Martin was claimed off of waivers by the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, he had been out there, had been waived earlier this season by the Lions. I think he caught on somewhere else for a short period of time, but was waived or was on a practice squad. But pretty awesome that he is getting a chance with the Las Vegas Raiders. I know it's toward the last couple 2-3 weeks of the season, but just getting an opportunity and being on the roster is definitely just an awesome highlight for him. So I'm glad he's not lost his way out of the league and he's getting another shot to be on a team. So big congratulations to Broderick.
And that concludes this week's episode of the Red Tail Wrap Up. Moff, back to you.
Yeah, good stuff as always. But now we're going to talk about the men's basketball season, and we've kind of been juggling, the period of the fall and winter where basketball and football cross over, and mainly have been focusing on football and the pregame or the game previews and then the game recaps, and we haven't been doing as much with basketball just because we've tried to keep our episodes split up so they're not an hour and a half long, so they're 45 minutes long. It's kind of been a sweet spot for us, but now we're kind of to the point where there's only one football game left with the bowl game coming up this coming Tuesday, and basketball season, non-conference just ended last night. So it kind of just made sense for us to, as we're looking at the pivot that is going to naturally happen here from the football season into full blown basketball coverage, to just look back and recap at the basketball season so far that we've had, and just to go back and look at what we thought in the preseason when we did our preseason preview of the team. We projected what we thought our record would be in the non-conference and in conference play. So just as a reminder, in the preseason, Tyler, you had us pegged at 9-2 in our 11 game non-conference schedule. I had us pegged at 8-3. We actually finished 7-4. So both of us off by a couple, a loss or two there, which happens. Obviously, there's been some injuries. There's been other things that have happened, just ups and downs and natural ebb and flows. You have a heartbreaking loss like we had last night. We had a heartbreaking loss to USF. but I don't think anybody's upset or disappointed. Or there's some people that are upset and disappointed with the record of our team. But man, I think if you've watched this team play every single game, like we have, and I'm sure many people listening have, I just don't see how you can't come away with just a positive feel and just an optimistic view for how this season could go. I think we're going to be really good in conference play. I think Conference USA has had a lot of parity the last few years. Um, Obviously, last year we dealt with injuries. Right now we have a couple injuries, but I just think we have a total different roster dynamic than what we had last year. So, just recapping the losses that we've had so far this year. We lost to Vanderbilt and we lost to South Florida in the battle for Atlantis. And then a couple weeks ago, we went to Marshall and lost to them. And then just last night, as we record Saturday night, we lost to Tulsa in that heartbreaking last second three moving screen. Should have been called. Just a bad way to lose the game, and just still stings, to be honest. Still got a little bit of a sour taste in our mouth, but as disappointing as it is to lose that way, I'm still not disappointed in our season or in the effort of our team or how we've played or how we've answered or bounced back from injuries and adversity. I really think, both of us kind of said all summer we really like the pieces that Coach Plona added to the roster. And now that we're starting to see them come together and guys are stepping up, even in the absence of other players that are injured, I think we have the potential to have a special season, and maybe the non-con didn't go exactly how we wanted it to. Definitely a couple games there we could have won, but man, I like our chances heading into Conference USA play, and we'll talk more about Conference USA and how they look right now heading into conference play. But Tyler, just what are your thoughts on the I guess your preseason prediction and how it actually shook out, and um, just kind of looking forward to the conference schedule.
I mean, yeah, 9-2. I thought, we had to play pretty perfect to get that. And if you think about it, I mean, we were what, like 5 points away from beating Vanderbilt, and we lost our second leading scorer. Um, South Florida, we should have won that one. That one was really one we just let slip away. Marshall, tough game. Tough game to watch. Me and you and some other faithful Hilltopper fans watch it at B Dubs. Um, really, I don't know what happened in that game. Just bad. And Tulsa, good gosh, I don't like them. After watching their little celebration, uh, it losing hurt, but that right there just disrespectful. Um, But I feel like if we could have played Vandy or South Florida again, I feel like that may have been different if we played with a healthy roster. Granted, that's not how basketball works, and it's not how life works. Stuff happens. Um, Now, if you're looking forward to the conference schedule, Conference USA has some good teams in there. Kennesaw scoring above 90 every game, kind of like Tulsa. Um, and then you got, MTSU's probably going to be good. Uh, the New Mexico State is probably going to be challenging, and some other teams, Liberty, always typically good. So I feel I like our team going into conference play. The players have kind of asserted themselves. We have a lot of ways to score, and we're going to talk about 3-point shooting coming on later. All that's getting better. Yes, we do have some key injuries right now. One will come back, one will not. And the one that will not definitely going to hurt in the rebounding, but that's just going to make our post players had to play better and had to perform better to make up for his loss.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, we both came up short from our preseason predictions, but one, I don't think anybody foresaw Tulsa being as good as they are this season. I mean, they were not a good basketball team last year. reloaded, from the portal, did what they should have done after having a bad season, got some new players in, and they look completely different than they did last year. So good on them, and I'd like to think good on us as well because we also had a tough season last year, and we look a lot better. Even Coach Plona has said it. We have proven to ourselves that we can play with anyone in the country. I mean, Vanderbilt's the top 15 team undefeated in the nation right now, and we're probably the team that's played them the closest. Playing them within 5 points. We've been their toughest test so far. Same with USF and same with Tulsa. 10-1 Tulsa is a really good basketball team, and we were right there. Could have beat them. Whether it came down to a blown call at the end, or we missed some free throws down the line, or decided to foul. When we were up three. I mean, there's several variables you can look at on why we lost that game. But if nothing else, we've proven that we can play with anyone in the nation if we put our minds to it, put our effort to it. But there's some other storylines from the non-conference that I definitely just want to talk about and just kind of see how we feel about them. I know we see the fan base talking about them and just put some stuff out there. The first one, in my opinion, the biggest one, has been the return of Tegan Moore, and this one, I'm not going to go as far as to say I told you so to anyone and everyone listening, but even back to last year when he decided to redshirt, sometime around the middle end of the season, he could have come back last year. I mean, at that point, he was healthy enough. He had rehabbed. He could have come back last year and played, but he had already decided he wanted to redshirt, save that year of eligibility. And everything that I was hearing about Tegan last year, with when we had Don and Wu and Christian, all those guys, I was just hearing Tegan Moore is dominating practice. And then we get into obviously the portal and all those guys leave and we rebuild the team. And there's all these new names and faces. And over the summer, we just had a cluster of fans that are like, who is going to be our guy this year? Who's going to be the guy that can get us a bucket? Who's going to be our leading scorer? Who can we lean on? And I kept saying, I think y'all have forgotten who Tegan Emmer effing Moore is and who he was by the end of his freshman year. Because by the end of his freshman year, the year with Steve Lutz, it was give him the ball and get out of the way. He will go get a bucket. I mean, he was taking the shine away from Don McHenry at the end of his freshman season. I mean, he is that dude. He's that good. He demands a lot of attention from the defense, and he's going to go get a bucket the easy way, the hard way. Posting you up, taking you to the rim, getting an and one. And I'm not going to say I told you so to everyone listening, but Tegan Moore is that dude. And we already talked about him being on the Lou Henson Award watch list. Well deserved. And I think this team, luckily, we have a lot of good pieces around Tegan. You got Grant, you got Armello, you got Terrion when he comes back, Ryan Myers, Hafner. We have a lot of good pieces around him, but Tegan, in my opinion, is probably the most steady and the most consistent and the most dependable guy that we have. So, really excited for him. Obviously not looking beyond this season, not thinking about the worst of are we going to keep him? Because I know that he loves WKU. He likes it here, but that doesn't mean anything. He could test the portal after this year. So we're going to enjoy him for this year for what he's doing, helping lead this team to a lot of wins. Because we've got at least 20 more games plus Conference USA tournament play ahead of us, and he's going to be a big factor, in his health and how well he's playing. So Tyler, what are your thoughts on the return of Tegan Moore this season?
I mean, Tegan Moore cannot be. All right, so he is incredible. He's leading the team in minutes played right now with 316. He's playing the most on the team right now, averaging 28.7 minutes a game. He's tied for first with the most field goals attempted, 122. He's hit the most out of those attempted with 60. 3-point, and he's not leading 3-point percentage or 3-point made versus attempted. Free throws, he's attempted 76, he's hit 66 He has attempted the most. He has made the most. He's the leading point getter right now on the team. He's got 191 points. Just for a little insight there, the second leading scorer is Grant Newell. Him and Armello Boone are tied with 132 points. He is actually leading the rebounding totals too. He's got 65 rebounds on season. Second one is Armello Boone. Tegan Moore is that dog. Now, granted, he does, and he does have 31 assists, so he's leading the team in assists. He's also leading them in turnovers. He's got 19 turnovers, so 19 to 31 assists, 14 steals. He's second right now on the team in steals, 14. Of course, you got two tied for first with 18, and he's got 7 blocks, and he's leading team in blocks. Tegan Moore is that steady hand. He's doing a little bit of everything, and you got to appreciate what he's doing for the team. He is a workhorse. He plays bigger than he is. He'll get down there at post and work. His footwork is good. He's able to get shots up. He either gets shots up, gets fouled, or he might hit you from the mid range. And then if someone does shoot a shot, he's fighting for the rebound. So Tegan Moore is just doing a lot for the team right now. And speaking of rebounds, let's break that down. He's got 26 offensive rebounds. He's leading the team in offensive rebounds right now. The second next dude is Bryant, and he has 23. He's doing a lot right now. So 26 offensive rebounds, 39 defensive rebounds. Boone is beating him in defensive rebounds, 39 to 46. And he's tied with Bryant Shelabonge, with both of them have 39 defensive rebounds apiece. But Tegan Moore is that dude. He's just incredible to watch play. Dude is good. Yes, let's hope he stays here until he graduates, because the man has a legacy here, or he could leave a legacy here at WKU, and I'm here excited to watch him play.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd almost say we could call him the straw that stirs the drink, like I called Don McHenry all the last couple years. But yeah, Tegan has deserved every ounce of recognition he's gotten this year. And as we get into Conference USA play, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more defenses geared towards stopping him. But that's okay, because other guys have stepped up when he's had slow nights. Other guys have been stepping up. And one of the biggest ways that we've stepped up has been our 3-point percentage. Through the first 4 games of this season, it was a concern for a faction of our fans or people on message boards, on Twitter, etc. Just, why can we not make a 3-pointer? We were shooting 27.63% after our first 4 games, which was near the bottom of the NCAA for qualified teams that has shot enough shots. And we also weren't a great 3-point shooting team last year either, at times. But since then, we went to Atlantis, and I'm not sure what happened in Atlantis, but it just seemed like a light switch came on, and all of a sudden Cam Hafner and Ryan Myers and Grant Newell and just several different guys all of a sudden just started making threes. In the 3 games in Atlantis, we shot 35.21%, which raised our season average to 31.29. Since then, we went from 27.63 to 31.29, still below the NCAA average. You want to be 32 to 33%, pushing 33% is going to get you to the NCAA average typically. Since then, in 1, 2, 3, 4, in 5 more games since then, we've raised our season average to 34.39% from 3. So from the first 4 games, we shot 27.63% to now we're making over a third of our threes, which is good for 152nd best in the nation. And if you do some quick math, you can't do this in real life, but if you hypothetically took the first 4 games off of our shooting percentage, we'd be shooting over 36%, and we'd be a top 50 3-point shooting team in the nation. So I think, we answered the question. We had a lot of shooters at the beginning of the season, but it didn't seem like we had any makers. Now some guys are, they've started seeing the ball going in. We saw Grant Newell just last night, 6 out of 8. Ryan Myers just a couple games ago made 7 in a game. These guys have found their confidence. They're seeing shots go in, and I think this improved 3-point percentage is going to do a lot towards helping us win ball games, open up the offense, driving lanes, those driving kicks, shoot 3-pointers. Luis Simona's come on and started making some threes the last couple games. It's just been definitely nice to see, especially consider where we started. It definitely was a concern at the beginning of the season to see us shooting so poorly, but now, we're in the top half of the NCAA where we're at right now, and we've shot better than that. I want to say 3 of our last 4 games we've shot better than what we're averaging for the season right now. So that average is continuing to climb as we stack games on top of each other. So as we move into Conference USA play, it's a little harder to scout us when you think, oh, all we do is drive to the rim and try to draw fouls and get to the free throw line. All of a sudden, we're a team, taking and making a lot of 3-pointers. Now you've got to defend us differently. Now you have to be aware of shooters and where they are, and just naturally, that's going to open up those opportunities to drive to the lane for Armello or Tegan, Grant, whomever. So I really like to see the growth of our shooters and our 3-point makers, making shots. Tyler, what are your thoughts on the improvement on the 3-point shot of the season so far?
Well, I mean, that's what the college game is headed to. Last night as I was driving to Diddle, Coach Hank was sitting there and he was talking about how the NBA is right now. Well, that's like 5 years ahead of what college is. So here in the future, it's just going to be 3 point. Dang, I need to stop coughing. 3 point shooters all the time. And I have our first 3 games. I think the first game we shot 2 for 15 or 2 for 11. Then we hit 5 threes the next game. Then the third game we hit two threes. Um, that is very concerning, especially as we've seen the last few years. Um, the team the the team can be really quick to just jack up threes, and sometimes you're sitting there like, why'd you shoot it? And then the same dude go down there next time and hit it, and you're like, that's why you shot it. And then he can get hot and kind of go on a little hot streak, but sometimes he don't, and sometimes the team just gets cold. And at the beginning of the season, I think we really saw that. Thankfully, though, Myers, Hafner, they have really came on. I mean, some of the shots that Myers have made is incredible. Then, Hafner, he's hit some big time threes. Um, I mean, it is nice though to see our 3 point shot percentage move up as the season has progressed. And you're right, it really keeps teams honest whenever they had to kind of stay out there and guard you instead of packing the paint and daring you to go in and maybe have it poked away or have your shot blocked. It just spreads the team out, spreads the D out. Some of the it makes it a little bit easier to get to the rim if you do decide to drive. But I'm thrilled that our 3-point percentage has gotten better.
One thing I've liked about the even during the struggles of the 3-point shooting, the first 3-4 games, is that whenever Coach Hank would have a pre or post game presser, and he would be asked about the shot selection or the threes or not falling, and he always said the guys are taking good shots. He's like, there's not many that they're forcing. They're not shooting bad shots. He's like, so, you don't hold up a red stop sign and tell shooters to quit shooting. He said, they're making those shots in practice. They're making those shots in scrimmages. So you want those guys to just take good shots, make good decisions, and eventually they're going to start falling. And that's what we've seen. Exactly what he said. He's coached a lot of basketball. He's seen these players in practice way more than we have, just seeing them on game days. So, sometimes you just have to trust in the coaching and trust in the process. And right now, we're seeing the benefits of it because those guys have come alive. The next storyline I want to talk about and touch on has definitely been the a couple injuries we've had, this season, and it's not. I don't know. It feels different than last year. Last year we lost Tegan before the season started. We lost Baba for the season, 10 games in. We lost Julius Stedford for the season, early in conference play against MTSU. And then there were several other guys, Blaze missed time, Christian missed time, just several other guys that missed time. It felt like we were never fully healthy. But it doesn't feel like that this year, even though we got one guy in Bryant Celebange, who you mentioned earlier, he's out for the season. He tore his Achilles versus Marshall. He was in a boot. And then, the morning of or the day of our last game against Campbellsville, that information was released by WKU Basketball that he was going to miss the season with an injury. And obviously, we hate to hear that for him because Bryant was our leading rebounder at the time. He was a good rotation player, a good energy guy. When he was on the floor, you knew you were getting, offensive and defensive rebounds. He was getting putbacks. I mean, he's a man out there, and it really sucks to lose somebody like that for the rest of the season who could have helped us win ball games and be a force in the paint as the season went on. But really, it's just going to take the emergence of our other bigs, Noah and Blaze and Leroy. And even what we saw last night in the game versus Tulsa, we saw Armello Boone have 12 rebounds. Tegan Moore had 9. Grant Newell had 9. It seemed like it became more of a group effort to crash the boards. Like it was a focused area. Like, hey, we've got to pick up this slack. And we saw 3 guys who got more rebounds than what they typically get in one of the first games without Bryant Celebange. And Tulsa is a really good rebounding team, and we out rebounded them. So I think that says a lot about this team and their effort. And then the other injury we have to talk about is obviously to Terrion Murdix. He was injured in the battle for Atlantis in that game versus USF. Unfortunately, he hurt his other knee, not the one that he's had 2 surgeries on over the last few years and missed a couple seasons of basketball. But Coach Hank did give an update on him when they got back to Bowling Green. He had a scan. There wasn't a full tear. They're hopeful and confident that the damage that there was would heal on its own, and hopefully he would be back by early January into Conference USA play. So obviously that has put us without a point guard. Our true point guard, the guy that had been starting games and handling the bulk of those minutes. And we've kind of had turned those duties over to Armello Boone, true freshman. Sometimes he gets sped up. He's so athletic. He's so downhill. He wants to get to the rim and go through you and go over you and dunk the ball. We've also seen Tegan Moore handle a lot of the ball handling duties lately. He's kind of a slower, bring it up, get you into the flow of your offense. Ryan Myers has handled the duties. LJ Hackman. It's been point guard by committee. So obviously, I still think we're in good shape, and luckily, Terrion is still on pace to be back. Hank addressed that recently. I think it might have even been after the Tulsa game. I think someone asked him, and he said, "Yeah, he's still on pace to be back early January, but he wants to see him in practice. Fully practicing." For 7 to 10 days before even if he's cleared, before he puts him back in a game situation, and he wants Terrion to be comfortable. He doesn't want to force him or rush him back. So, I love to hear that. I think Hank handles injuries and players' safety and their best interests. I think he handles that very well, just like he did last year with Bava and last year with Tegan and Julius. Letting those guys make their own decision for their health and how they want to be handled going forward. So, obviously both of those injuries are going to impact our season. Losing one of our bigs and Bryant Salabange, and then losing Terrion for this stretch of games. But I think there is some good that can come from both. One, we saw last night, I've already mentioned that other players had to step up and put more effort into rebounding. So now we've proven that we can do it. Rebounding has long been known to be an effort statistic. If you're not crashing a board, you're not going to get rebounds. We proved last night with, almost three guys in double digits with rebounds that we can do it. So we can step up and fill that gap for Bryant. And then the injury to Terrion, it's providing more minutes for guys like Armello Boone to get on the court and develop. Luis Simona is getting on the court more because of Bryant Salabange being down. It's letting our team, some of the guys down the bench, get more meaningful minutes that hopefully are going to help us later in the season. So while injuries do suck, and we don't like that we have been snake bitten by them the last couple years, one, I'm glad that we're going to get Terry on back. That's going to be great news here within a couple weeks when he gets cleared to come back and is on the court. And obviously, we're going to hope he stays healthy the rest of the season. But these injuries certainly have had an impact on this season. But we're going to get through it. I think we're going to be okay, unlike last year where it was kind of a rough go once we had two or three of our top dogs, fall off the availability of the roster. So Tyler, what are your thoughts on those two injuries and how it's affected our gameplay so far this season?
Well, if you'll remember at the beginning of the season, whenever we did our preview for the season, I actually picked Bryant Celebange as my player that I was most excited to see because he was an aggressive post guy. He was someone that was going to move people out of the way, go up, get the rebound, and either put it back or get it to the outlet guy and go. Now that he's gone, sadly, you're right. It is forcing other guys to step up. And I'm not mad that Tegan Moore, Grant Newell, and Armella Boone's running down there to get the rebounds. When Louis came in last night, he was 2 for 2 with threes, 2 or 3 from the field. That's that. I don't think Bryant was going to be going out shooting the three. So, with him gone, that does open the door for Louis to come in and do that. Um, I mean, it's going to be rough to replace him because he was a dominant force down there. And then you look at Terrion, and as I was leaving parking structure last night, Coach Hank said, yeah, I mean, it is Terrion is the one. It is the point guard. He is the one out there directing everything, and he's really the true point guard on the team. So with him being gone, yeah, you are kind of putting the kind of thrusting a true freshman into the spotlight, which point guard is a very difficult position. Um, and you're right. Sometimes he does get sped up, and he can make mistakes. And then Tegan, I'm fully comfortable with him bringing the ball up the court and facing the defense. But um, I am excited that we do get Terrion Murdoch's back, especially in conference play, where it really matters. Um, and the good Lord willing, we don't have the same kind of issue last year where you go from game to game, week to week. Someone could get hurt, they're missing 2 weeks, they come up healthy, then boom, someone else goes down for a week or 2 weeks or something. So hopefully we don't run into that this year, and we keep a rather steady, healthy, consistent roster. And then people were kind of more comfortable knowing what they're going to have to do per game rather than I got to play extended minutes this time. And the coach has us shuffling people in and out. So it would be nice to have more of a consistent schedule or a consistent roster this year instead of hoping and praying someone's not going to get injured and miss a few weeks and then someone else gets hurt.
Yeah, the injuries are definitely, um, I guess they just cause you to have to react. You've got to adapt. Next man up. And I think we've done a good job at that. Luckily, last year was definitely a lot rougher. To finish below 500, 17 and 15 on the year. Below 500 in conference play, seventh place in the conference. I have a lot higher aspirations than that, and I still think even if Terrion doesn't or didn't come back this season, I still think we would finish much better than that. I think we've shown that this team has a lot more resiliency, a lot more depth, and just just overall more talent than what we had last year. No offense to those guys, we had good players last year. We just weren't healthy. It just is what it is. I think the next storyline, possibly one of the biggest of the season so far, has been the emergence of true freshman Armello Boone. I mean, he has just been an electric and exciting presence on the court. Every time he stepped on the court, he's helped us win games defensively. Early in the season, Tennessee State and Tennessee Tech, he kind of was a defensive stopper, and we've seen glimpses and flashes of his athleticism, his attacking the rim, driving downhill, trying to dunk on somebody's head like he was doing in Atlantis. He won 3 consecutive Conference USA Freshman of the Week awards. I could be wrong, but after the performance he had last night against Tulsa, with a double points and rebounds, not going to be surprised when he gets his fourth one on Monday around noon when they announce those Player of the Week awards for the conference. So I think Armello, as a true freshman, kind of being thrust into some more minutes, with the availability of minutes because of Terrion getting injured. Um, you're kind of speeding up his development in a way. You're getting him on the court, you're getting him exposed to real game speed, game action, and his confidence is just growing. Sometimes you almost need to reel him back a little bit because he's so athletic and he's so fast and he can attack the rim, but he's almost out of control sometimes. But that's just because he's so athletic and the game is so fast to him. I think by the end of the season, he's going to be like Teagan was a couple of years ago. He might be our leading scorer, at some point, into the later parts of the season, just because he's that athletic and he's that good. He even likes to step back and shoot the three. He's made a few of them. He made them in Atlantis. He's not knocked down as many since then, but he can step back there and make them. He's shown that desire of, hey, I want to do that. Thanks a lot, Steph Curry, making everybody think they can shoot them. But man, Armello has been a special player to get to watch and get to watch him develop and bloom just through 11 games so far. We've got at least 21 more games to hopefully get to watch him play and get better. And I think we're going to see a lot of growth and improvement, as we get into Conference USA play. And I have no doubt that there's several more Freshman of the Week awards, possibly Player of the Week awards, and you might as well go ahead and give him the Freshman of the Year award because I just don't see there's any way, soon to be 4-time Player of the Week isn't going to be the Player of the Year. So he's exciting. I know you're a big fan of his as well. Tell me what you have thought about Armello Boone so far early in the season.
So yeah, I remember watching highlight reels or highlight tapes of him last year whenever he was in high school and just seeing his athleticism. I was really excited for him to get on campus and he hadn't disappointed. He's kind of you take the scoring of Trey, and he's got shades of Trayvon Hollingsworth to me, shades of him, and shades of Josh Anderson. You put them both together, and this is what you get. He's got man can jump out the gym, going for them rebounds. He's leading the team in steals right now. If I'm not reading it wrong, he is. He's tied with L.J. Hackman. He's got 18 steals on the season. Josh Anderson was known to be able to jump the passing lanes, run down the court, and do a ESPN top 10 dunk on somebody. The only thing that made it better was during that if he did it during the Marshall games where, point guard, Marshall players down there on the other end, ran down, he kind of jumped up, did different dunks than Josh Anderson did whenever he put it right there on John Elmore's head. But, you can't always get what you want. Armello Boone is that dude. He's got that dog in him. Man's a fighter, man's a player. Um, it's just it's great being able to sit and watch him play. Um, I can't speak highly of him. Yeah, on the season, 3 points, he's 4 3-point shots, he's 425. But he can score in so many ways. He can get to the free throw line. He can get fouled. And he's just quick and he's athletic and he's just a player that is a spark to the team. I really hope he stays here over more than 1 year. I really hope he does because I just think he's going to keep building on his foundation that he has right now, and it'd be awesome to see him in the future as he grows because this is someone that is going to be key. I'm with you. I think he's going to be key to the team later in the season. Just as he is able to get better, get more confident than he already is. But he's such a great player for the team, and I'm just here for it.
Yeah, I hate that with transfer portal and NIL, we already have to be thinking about will he be here next year. I hate that fact that's where our minds go. But even in the football season, when Marvis Parrish, true freshman running back, got to start game one, there was already chatter game one, like, dang, he's going to look good in the SEC next year at Auburn or Ole Miss. They're going to come calling, who is this kid that y'all found and developed and made a starter, and we should come pay him. I just hate that that's what it's turned into, annual free agency. Obviously, he has the right to explore whatever options he wants to and go get paid if that's what he desires to do. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of other schools that can offer him more money that we can. But man, it would also be awesome to keep him here a couple of years. But I think we know that's going to be tough. But now I want to look at how Conference USA looks heading into conference play. And if you are watching on the YouTube version, the video version, I do have the current Conference USA. You can call them the standings, but it's not really the standings because there's only been one conference game played so far. MTSU beat Kennesaw just a few nights ago, so technically they're on top. Kennesaw's on bottom. But more importantly, you can see the win-loss record for each team. In the middle column, you can see their record at home. You can see their record away. So far in non-conference play for every team, MTSU is 6-4. Liberty is 8-3. Sam Houston 7-3. New Mexico State 6-3. WKU is 7-4. Louisiana Tech is 6-4. FIU is 5-4. Missouri State's 5-5. Jacksonville State is 4-6. Delaware is 4-7. UTEP is 3-6. And Kennesaw State is 8-3. So a mixed bag there of teams and how they're doing. But I think more interestingly, look, if you can see it, look over at the next column, the home records. All the top teams are either undefeated or only have one loss at home. You look at the next column over. Of the 12 teams in Conference USA, only 5 of them have wins on the road. There are a total of, well, now there's a total of 7 wins. There was only one team with 2. Kennesaw has 2 now. Sam Houston has 2. No one else has more than 1 win away from home. And I've said that since the preseason, that I think winning on the road is going to be something that determines who's the top team in conference. I think we know that Liberty is going to be up there. Sam Houston's had a good start to the season. They're 7-3. Kennesaw at 8-3. Us right there, even at 7-4 with one extra loss. At this point, we've proven that we can play with anyone and I'm going to pull up the preseason prediction of how the conference was going to finish. Liberty was picked by most to repeat as champion. They returned their top three scorers from last season, and they've rebuilt. They've added some pieces. Decker is a good shooter that they have on the team. They're still a smaller team. I think Zach Cleveland is one of their bigger players that they play, but he's a good overall all around player. So I think there's going to be a lot of parity. I think there's three or four, maybe five teams that can win Conference USA, and I think you're looking at most of those top options right there. I'm not sure if I would include Louisiana Tech in the top five at this point. I think Western is better than top six. I think we're a little better than middle. I would say a little better than New Mexico State, but man, I think it's really close. I think between Liberty, Kennesaw, and ourselves, there's three really good teams. I think Sam Houston has they've overachieved so far in the non-conference part of play. Their preseason predicted ninth and are having a really good out of conference season, averaging a lot of points. And yeah, it's going to be exciting now that we're getting into conference play. We're going to start playing teams that I don't want to say we're familiar with, but we're familiar with the schools. We've got to obviously we have to learn their new rosters, who their new impact players are, just like they have to learn who our new roster and impact players are. And then I want to jump back and look at what our projections for our records were in Conference USA play. Tyler, you projected us to go 16-4 in our 20 game schedule of conference play. I projected us to go 15-5. That was with an 8-2 record at home, and then 7-3 away from home. So um, it's going to be tough. I mean, we right now we have to prove that we can win on the road. I think that's the biggest thing. Whichever one of those top 4, 5, 6 teams proves that they can win on the road is going to be the team or teams that separate themselves in the standing. So, Tyler, what are your thoughts on just the preseason poll, and then when we look over at the current standings and just how the teams have done in out of conference play? Just what are your thoughts on Conference USA and how it's looking heading into conference play?
You're right. I think there is, definitely I don't want to say a big drop off, but there's a significant drop off between the top five teams and really and really the rest of Conference USA. La Tech, I'd say they're probably out of it right now. But you got to look at what they lost versus what they brought back or what they was able to get out of the transfer portal. I'm sure that's what the coaches were voting on, or that is what the coaches were voting on whenever they did that preseason. Um, Sam Houston, I think they are definitely overachieving right now. And that's the problem with Conference USA. Whenever you go and play like the Sam Houstons, the New Mexico States, FIU, there's really no one in the stands. So you have to make your own. The traveling team has to make their own energy, which can be kind of hard. So, um, and yes, the Conference USA tournaments never played at home. So that's why winning on the road so important. Um, I Kennesaw State, I think they're going to be better right now. They've lost one conference game. That's why they're at the very bottom. I think they're going to get better. I think they're going I think they could be a real force to reckon with in the conference this year. They're scoring points in bunches. MTSU's probably going to continue their strong run. Liberty's definitely going to be a tough one to play, home and away. And then New Mexico State, who exactly knows what they got, but I think Western is definitely going to finish a lot better than what I think we were projected fifth in the preseason. I think we're definitely going to finish better than fifth. Um, I think whenever we did our preseason, I honestly said, I could see us going second or third. And right now I'm sticking with that. I have no reason to doubt that, or the doubt that we can't win Conference USA. We have a damn good team. We got a bunch of guys that could very dangerous offensively. We got good defensive players. Um, I just think we're going to surprise a lot of people who especially picked us to go fifth in the preseason poll. Um, because I think our guards are going to catch Liberty. I think our bigs are going to surprise them. You know, last year post play kind of down. You know, we were relying on Blaze and Leroy, and neither one of them was real dominant, really a force to be reckoned with down low. And this year they have gotten better. And then you just add some of the pieces we got from the transfer portal and the guys we signed. I just think we're going to be real dangerous this year. This year as we go into conference play.
I think one of the biggest things I take away from what's happened so far in non-con is you see some of these guys that have played 3 and 4 games on the road and haven't won a game yet. You see Louisiana Tech is 0-4 away from home. They're undefeated at home. They're 6-0, but they're not playing every game at the TAC. They've got 10 road games in Conference USA coming up, and if they can't win on the road, same with FIU 0-3, Missouri State 0-3, Jacksonville State 0-2, UTEP 0-3. So, a few of these teams have some good-looking records. New Mexico State's 4-0 at home, Sam Houston 3-0, Liberty 6-0, Louisiana Tech 6-0. But they're not playing every game in the friendly confines of their gym. They set their non-conference schedule up that way, and that's fine. I like that we had challenged ourselves with a couple away games and then some neutral site games. And last year we were 4-9 on the road for the season, and that was kind of the main reason why we were so far down in the standings. If you're losing 2/3 of your game on the road, you're not going to be high in the standings. And I projected this year that we would flip that record. Basically, I had us going 15-5 in conference, and that was 7-3 away from home. I think at home, so far, Coach Plona has won 75% of his games at Diddle. He's 18-6 after the game last night at Tulsa, so that would put us about an 8-2 record, which was what I projected in the preseason when we did our projections. So I'm going to stick with 8-2 at home. I'm going to stick with 7-3 away from home. I think this team, even though we have seen us struggle, sometimes it feels like we play down to the competition if we're playing. We had last year, we lost twice to FIU, team near the bottom of the conference. We lost to them twice. Sometimes it seems like we're inconsistent, but I think this team is built a lot better and has been through a few tough games now, that down the road it's going to help them. They're going to be mentally tougher and sharper and know how to close games out better than what we've seen so far. We definitely have had 2 winnable games in USF and Tulsa that just slipped through our fingers. And I know both of us would feel a lot better if we were looking at a 9-2 current overall record heading into out of conference play. I think we'd be beating our chest saying, that we might go 20-0. It might happen. But I really like this ball club. Now, looking at the upcoming games, we have a 10-day layoff between Tulsa and between our next game where we open up our Conference USA play. And that is not this coming Monday, but next Monday, 12/29, we go to Jacksonville State to play the Fighting Ray Harpers. And then later that week on Friday, we are hosting Sam Houston on January 2nd in Diddle Arena. And then we have that quick turnaround, a late Friday, I think it's a late like 6 p.m. Friday game. And then Sunday on the 4th, I want to say it's like a 4 p.m. game. So less than 48 hours, we turn around and we play Louisiana Tech here at home. So the first week of Conference USA play, not sure how or why it happened, but we've got 3 games. We don't have the usual Thursday, Saturday split. I'm assuming the holiday may have had something to do with it in between there. But so we've got Jacksonville State on the road to open Conference USA play, and I think, man, I think I put this on the message board. I said, in no way, shape, or form is that a must-win game. If we start off conference play 0-1, that's not going to be the end of the world. But I think it's a need to win game. It's a game we need to go on the road and prove that this team can win on the road, because we couldn't do it last year. We couldn't do it consistently. We just couldn't put teams away. And this one is a little bit more personal with Ray Harper on the other side, former coach here at Western. Last year went running around the arena like he had just won the freaking Super Bowl or just won an NCAA Division II title at KWC or something. I don't know, but we've got to rain on his parade this year. Go down to Jacksonville State, maybe return a little favor for the football beaten or loss that they gave us just a couple weeks ago. We just have to get that Jacksonville State monkey off our back and open conference play with a 1-0 record. And then I'm going to feel really good about coming back home later in the week and having Sam Houston at home, even though, again, they're playing well, but they're not going to be in their home gym. They're going to be here at Diddle. And the same for Louisiana Tech. They're 6-0 at home, but they're not playing in the TAC. They're 0-4 on the road. So they're going to have to come here and play us, and they're going to be having that quick turnaround just like we are. They're going to play Middle Tennessee on Thursday or Friday and then have to turn around and play us on Sunday. So that's where I really like a team like ours that has a lot of depth, a lot of bodies that we can rotate in and help keep guys fresh and run the other team down. I think we're going to see the fruits of that as we get into conference play, and you have those quick, Thursday, Saturday turnarounds, or Friday, Sunday, like in this example, or 3 games in 1 week. That's going to be a tough start to our conference schedule. But Tyler, what are your thoughts about the upcoming first 3 games of Conference USA play?
Yeah, I was already kind of looking ahead towards Jack State because nothing would be better than start conference play with a win. Because you're right, when Ray Harper came up here last year, beat us, um, kind of rubbed people the wrong way, and I was one of them. And so nothing would make me happier than to go down there and just rub his face in it. But it could be a tall task, right now they are 5-6 or 4-3 at home, 1-2 away. Um, they are like everyone else. They have rebuilt there with players from the portal. And then you got Sam Houston State, which they're 2-3 at home, and they've lost. They play some big time schools away during the non-con. So, it'd be interesting to see how they are away from the friendly confines of their empty basketball gym. And hopefully the fans really show up for Western. Dang it. And really show up, really get loud, really make Diddle a really hostile environment for them. Then you got La Tech. La Tech's piss poor away from home this year, so that will be a good game. I feel like for Western. Yeah, you're talking about we play on what, the 29th, which is it a Monday? It's a Monday, Friday, Sunday. I remember, what was it? A few games ago, Randy and Hal was talking on the radio and was like, no games in the week, like no weekdays are safe from game day. So I guess Conference USA is going away from the Thursday, Saturday split. Now they're just kind of throwing it at any day of the week. So I don't know if this is something they're testing out or what, but 3 games in 1 week will be very hard on the players. And you're right, it is great having a bunch of bodies to be able to throw into the game so no one's overworked. But I feel like this first 3 games will be a good test for us. Historically, La Tech, good team. Sam Houston State, they can be good. Jack State can be a little firecracker. So they can go off at any time. So it's just going to be fun to see how those games shake up. But typically we start the season with Liberty and we end it with Liberty. So it's going to be different this year when we start with Jack State.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for Conference USA play. I think we're gonna surprise some people. I know I had a couple people in conference, other podcast and friends reach out to me last night, like, man, y'all just got hosed versus Tulsa. I said, I know. I said, it is what it is. I said, I still feel really good about Conference USA play, and I'm sure if they're watching that game, seeing us hang out right there with a 10-1 team, 11-1 team, whatever Tulsa is now, and knowing how we played Vandy and USF, they have to be going, okay, maybe Western's a little better than what they were projected in the preseason. Um, and I think we've been yelling that from the mountaintop since, or from the hilltop, I guess I should say, since those projections came out. And we know they're just worth the paper that they were written on. So, but I'm real excited to get, have this recap of the basketball season so far. Um, tells me we're right to the end of football season. The bowl game is just a couple days away. Obviously, we'll watch it on Tuesday, and then we'll put out a recap episode of it. Obviously, we'll keep up with the transfer portal and guys leaving, guys that we sign, and all the off-season stuff that comes with football. But we will just kind of naturally pivot to where we're doing game previews for the upcoming week of basketball games, and then we'll do game recaps just like we do for football season, just like we've done the last couple years going into basketball season. So I'm real excited. Basketball season is personally my favorite season of the sports calendar year. Um, I don't know why. I'm just a big basketball guy. I always have been. I enjoy football. I enjoy volleyball, baseball, etc. But basketball, I just enjoy being in Diddle Arena a lot. And I haven't got to be there. Thought about coming for Tulsa, didn't get to make it. Hopefully by the turn of the new year, that's kind of been a long term goal. Hopefully by then, by Sam Houston, I can get back in there, take in a game live. Really looking forward to that. Hopefully, Lord willing, health willing, I will be there. But definitely looking forward to getting back into the groove of just previewing these teams because each of them are going to have a lot of new names and faces that we need to know. Who their leading scorers are, rebounders are, what their record is, home, away, etc. We're going to have to kind of relearn each of these teams as we jump into game previews, and then obviously, hopefully, we're recapping a couple victories after the two games have been played. So, Tyler, really good stuff. Really excited for Conference USA play. I guess give us your final words and take us on out of here.
Yeah, this non-conference season has been pretty good. We've seen some ups, we've seen some downs, seen some games that we let slip away that we should have won. Two, in particular, it was great seeing that we hung with Vandy so good, and that we honestly had a chance to win that game. I don't want to call it a moral victory. It's just this team. Coach Hank is right. This team can play with anybody. Uh, Anybody in the country, and I'm excited to see how we're going to tear through Conference US. But you look, the Tulsa game still puts a bad taste in my mouth because last night, and that I'm the second half. If anybody was there, you knew how terrible of a game the refs were in that game. Um, Tulsa shot 32 free throws, the majority of them coming in the second half. Actually, no, yes, yeah, so they shot 12 free throws in the first half, 20 in the second half. We shot 4 free throws in the first half, 20 in the second half. Uh, it just seemed like every little ticky tack foul, every time someone dribbled to the other end of the court, there was a foul being called. You couldn't get no rhythm set up. The refs completely took the air out of the game. Um, and it's just terrible whenever that happens. And I'm not going to blame the refs. Yes, they missed a blatant call that I think they should lose. All three of them should lose their license over. It's crazy that they just let it in the way they did after they called it so tight that whole half. Um, but then to watch Tulsa dance up the stairs into hug their 5 or 6 fans that came there, and then go back down there and mouth off to people and dance around the court like they were like they were on some parade or something. It just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and I hate them. I don't have them. That's not Christian. Like I don't like them with a strong passion. Um, and I hope they have the worst basketball season. I hope going into conference. I hope the worst on them. Um, and we'll just let it shake up. You know how it does if we play them again in the future. Um, I think that would be a good game, but piss on them. But I am excited for conference play. I feel like I said this before. I think we're going to be um, tough to play in conference. You know, we've shown during this non-conference that we are a great team. We got a lot of different weapons. I think our defense this year has stepped up compared to what it was last year. It is nice coming in with a full roster of guys that are players and studs, and I think we got a lot of dangerous players this year. So with that, you know, may the tops go and absolutely blow Southern Miss out of the water at the bowl game. Um, I hope if you're able to go, celebrate, be loud, cheer on tops. If you can't, hey, let's cheer and be loud at home at least. But hopefully, the Conference USA continues their dominance of the Sun Belt in bowl games so far. And with that, Moff, who has better than us, man?
Nobody, buddy. You know it.
Y'all go tops.
Go Tops. Later, guys.
See you.